You don't survive a civil war and just come and just hang out. It affects how you think.
In 1991, Somalia disintegrated after its leader Siad Barre was overthrown. The country was annexed by feuding clans and militias as a civil war and starvation left it deeply steeped in turmoil.
We were attacked every night by people who are our neighbors, people we grew up with, people who used to come to watch TV.
Fatuma Abdullahi's family fled to neighboring Kenya. Her family could only afford a dingy flat in the shambles of Eastleigh, a sprawling suburb on the outskirts of Nairobi. Abdullahi grew up in Mogadishu. It was a colorful life in an extended family. By then, her mother had passed away while her dad was wheelchair-bound. For 9 months, her family was trapped in Mogadishu during this internecine clan conflict as militias roamed the streets.
Every night we knew men were coming in, and they would shoot first outside, and they will force their way in. We were very lucky in a way that our neighbor, one of their older sons, was kind enough to warn us in advance and say, I had a story that you're going to be attacked, and I had a story that all the girls are going to be raped. He would remove the bars from the metal bars from the windows of both their houses and our houses, and he would make us escape every night.
As calm gradually returns and buildings sprout from the ruins of conflict in Mogadishu, Fatuma is amongst those who came back home. She is currently the country director for Internews in Somalia, an organization that supports the professional well-being of journalists.
I still can't get my head around why it took us 25 years to get our act together, to stop the violence, to find a solution. So we're turning a page. It's a new era. There's so much hope of where we can be and what we can do and how much we can try to catch up with the rest of the world of the 25 years we've missed.
A lot has changed, but there are monumental challenges for the generation that grew up during conflict.
I was driving in Mogadishu, and this kid, and I was turning a corner, and this kid stopped me. He was like, Edu, Edu, which means auntie, auntie. And I thought something may be wrong with him and he needs help. So I stopped the car, turned my window down more, and asked him, what is the problem? He says, I have never seen a woman drive. And he was about 4 or 5. We were once normal people, that we were once people who went to theater and who went to see stand-up comedy and who went to see music and who had art exhibitions and who had we were a nation where women were pretty much equal to men. We had female pilots in the 70s, in the early 70s. Ethiopia only got it in the 90s.
She is nostalgic about the past before war broke out.
Actually, I have a photo of my mom's wedding, and this was 72, I think, around 72. She was wearing a short dress. This is 1972. So we've gone through a lot of changes.
An educated woman, Fatuma sometimes defies ultra-conservative dictates. However, she alters her dressing back home.
I chose to move to Somalia for a bigger fight and a battle than my choices of clothing. There's a bigger thing at stake, and for that, for the country to go back, for us to make our contribution, I will do what it takes. And if that means dress conservatively, dress in a way that I wouldn't normally dress if I have option, I'll do it.
While growing up in Mogadishu under the tutelage of her strict father, Fatuma thought she would get married at 13.
So I brought a man home. I can't believe it when I look back. I brought a man home and I said, I'm going to marry this guy. And we were kind of related, distant. My dad looked at the guy, he was like, you want me to beat you up? Get out of here. She's a child.
But after witnessing the harrowing lifestyle of her friends and relatives from a vantage point, Fatuma chose not to follow a primordial marriage tradition.
I don't want to be stuck with somebody. I don't want to marry. I want to have a career. I want to study and go places, see the world.
At 41, she still remains unmarried.
I don't believe that people should marry because there's a deadline. I don't believe people should marry because society expects it or culture or religion expects it.
Many in her deeply conservative society remain repulsive towards her and the ideals she espouses.
They must be tired from having fought all these years. We can take over the fight for them. I'm thinking, time for you to rest. You have fought for so long. Why don't we contribute? We take it from where you've left it, and we'll continue fighting. And we'll continue fighting in a different way because we come with different ideas.
She has since then formed Warrior Post, a platform to give views previously drowned by a cacophony of the majority a chance to be heard.
People of different voices and different opinions have been denied a space. They're not part of the national debate and dialogue and the conversation. They must be, because you cannot have a country where one way of thinking dominates other ways.
For a person who lived in squalor and persevered to go to school, she finds it baffling that many Africans today want to migrate to Europe.
European economy is stagnating. Being black, Muslim, and immigrant in Europe is not exactly going to open doors for you. It will be a tough life.
Yet for a country hit with calamities, it is not difficult to fathom why many risk the perils of the high seas to live in Europe. In 2011, the Horn of Africa enclave was hit with one of the worst droughts. About 260,000 people are reported to have died. Fatuma, who was living in Johannesburg at that time, watched these stark and gory images of those starving to death relayed on her television.
I felt guilty. I felt there's a need to go back. And also, I was devastated that 20 years later I'm watching television to find that what I went through 20 years before was happening right now. I mean, that for me is enough to stop what you're doing, drop what you're doing, go back to Somalia and help get this place back on track.
Somalia has been stereotyped as a country which breeds terrorists, disease and death.
Apart from business and pirates, we produce a lot of other things too. We have a lot of ideas, and there's a very vibrant community, whether we are in Somalia or in the diaspora.
The spectre of violence still hangs over the future of Somalia. She admits that there are days when she thinks about the troubles that plague Somalia and wonders if perhaps she might not become a victim of terror.
On the road, traveling from the office to somewhere, and suddenly it will hit me, it could happen any second. It could happen where I am. It could happen in the hotel I'm going to have a meeting. It could happen at government office that I'm going to have a meeting.
However, there is a glimmer of hope. In Fatuma's trajectory, Somalia is capable of shaking off its turbulent past and moving towards the much-vaunted heights of a functional government and thriving democracy.
If the financial support that is given to AMISOM is given to us Somalis, we will be able to recover very quickly and be able to get the kind of soldiers, the quality of soldiers we need to have in Somalia.
Josephine Karunji, NTV.